Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Group Chat.
Big episode.
Big episode. We got a big guest, and we're talking, talk a little more intelligently about some of these topics today.
Yeah, we got a smarter person.
That's what it is, huh?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Really forced us to be a little more thoughtful than we normally are.
Yep. So we had to do it. Ian Rogers is joining us on today's episode.
Yes. And we're going to get into his whole life story. It's pretty fascinating. And then a ton of great perspective on some of the day's hot topics. Like, for example, is anyone shopping on Instagram?
Well, I don't know, but they're really hoping you are.
They really are. And I don't know if anyone's using Reels. I posted one Reel just to do it, but that was it.
I don't think so. It seems pretty crickety to me.
Yeah, it just seems repurposed TikTok.
Yeah, it seems whack. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to explain, Ian's going to explain his job. He's the CDO of LVMH, but, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It sounds pretty could be anything.
And how do you get there?
How the hell do you get there? We got a little bit of Short Story Long in this episode.
Yes. Short
Story Long is back. For everyone saying RIP, you got 5 minutes of it today.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're going to do a COVID update.
Yeah, and if you're looking to make a move as a influencer public figure, we have found the niche. And there's 71 million people that are dying for your content.
And a hot new platform to launch it on.
If you are a content creator, please pay attention. This is the episode for you.
Yeah. And I think we're gonna make a couple changes around here.
Yeah, we're doing 180.
You're going to see a few more red hats in this studio.
Yes.
And then last but not least, we end with our Karen of the week. We got some good, people that are acting like real Karens this week.
Yeah, big.
All right. We ready?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Group Chat.
We're here?
We're here, as promised.
Yeah.
We are here.
And we got a very special guest today.
We sure do. Go ahead, Dee. Intro him.
Well, I actually met him, I think, last summer in Paris.
Ooh,
in person. Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah, at his house.
Oh.
C'est vrai.
Drinking some,
you
ironically
told this
enough,
story.
he had, obviously had really nice wine.
Yeah.
I think it was the Chinese wine that...
the Chinese, the Ao Yun,
which is incredible. And then he had Casamigos too, which, in Paris is like finding, it's like impossible to find.
Yeah.
To find
Well, he's from
Casamigos.
Indiana, we just learned.
You think the Chinese wine gave you the antibodies? That's why you haven't gotten the virus?
Yes. Well, we'll get to that soon.
Okay.
So Ian is a Kathy first and foremost, but Ian Rogers is the Chief Digital Officer over at LVMH.
Sounds very important.
I just want to say, Chief Digital Officer at LVMH. So, like,
a lot
as
of big
big
words.
as it gets, but you said a Kathy most important.
Yes, a Kathy most importantly. And
that's the first thing on my business card.
yes, Kathy.
Holy cow.
But, been listening to the pod for a while, and we got connected through our mutual friend Anish. And, what's really interesting is no matter who I meet all over the world, the really interesting people, they know Ian. Mm-hmm. He's just one of those people that just knows literally everybody.
Yep.
And has like one of the most fascinating, interesting backgrounds. Mm-hmm. So I think most importantly, to kick it off, he's a Midwest white, like many of the folks in the room tonight.
Welcome.
Yeah.
We are strong.
Goshen, Indiana.
Great to have you.
Goshen, Indiana.
There's more of you than I thought.
Saw the majority.
Just
Midwest white.
Oh, yeah,
What
there's
I
a
would
lot.
say is that the Midwest is a great place to be from.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, who do you think those 71 million people were? Jesus. You didn't see the numbers?
Yeah. But, he came from Goshen, Indiana, and was into the skate scene, early music scene, but really interesting. So my friend Angelo Sotira, who listens to the podcast, who I randomly ran into after a long time at Ian's party in, I think it was Highland Park. Ian was having a little party like a year ago, and he was like, "Oh, Ian?" He's like, "Ian was at Winamp, bro. Winamp." you remember Winamp? I'm like, yes, I remember Winamp. And he geeks out to this day. So to give people who don't give background is Winamp, when in 1997, when I was visiting USC as a senior in high school, and we were picking like where we're going to live or whatever, we had to stay with one student for a night. So I stayed with this dude, I think his name was Noah. And I was like, how do you have all this music on your computer? I'd never seen anything like it. And he's like, these are MP3s, bro. I'm like, yeah, I know what they are, but like, how do you have them all on like one playlist? And he goes, it's called Winamp. And I was like, holy shit. And then I'm like, and how do you get all the songs for free? Show me that part.
Yeah.
And that was Napster. And like, Ian was a part of Winamp. What was your role at Winamp?
I ran Winamp.com and Shoutcast.com. I mean, there were only 4 of us at Winamp when it sold to AOL, and so that was May of '99 when we became part of AOL. But it was really Justin Frankel was the only person who ever really touched the code before we sold. There was another guy, Tom Pepper, who we worked together again at Beats Music, who kind of kept all the servers running and he actually had a kind of a day job, but he designed that original Winamp skin, which was still the best one, which is amazing because there are 50,000 of them that are in a museum now. Yeah. And then there was my close friend Rob Lord, who was kind of like the person who saw that this could be something as a business. And that was it. And then so I ran Winamp.com and Shoutcast.com, which meant, all of the, if you made skins, if you made plugins, if you made your own radio station, we really supported a community. And it's interesting because I think about it all the time. People talk all the time now about how you want to have your consumers actually kind of create the culture around your brand. Yeah. And to me, like it's almost second nature because that's just what you did at the early days of the internet is that it was participatory. Everyone created together. I mean, I heard when you had Angelo on and, we were all like, we just kind of believed in that spirit. I always said anybody who ever made a fanzine, with a marker and a photocopier, like understood the internet day one. And I think that Winamp was kind of a direct, descendant of that. And, Winamp was also pay what you want. It's a absolutely straight line between Winamp and the Radiohead pay what you want model. Yeah. Because Winamp was free shareware. You got nothing for giving us money at Winamp, but we made a lot of money. People wrote us checks and you could pay, we suggested $10, but we cashed $100 checks all day long because people were really moved by it. They found it useful and they people like a value exchange. Yeah. And so later on when Radiohead's Hail to the Thief came out, which is their last album on Capitol, I was friendly with their manager and I emailed him because the rumor was that they had leaked it on purpose. They hated their label. The album's called Hail to the Thief. They leaked the record on purpose. So I emailed him and I said, hey, did you, is it true? Did you guys leak this on purpose? And he wrote back, I wish we were that smart. What should we do? Yeah. And so I thought about it overnight and like wrote him back and I was like, you should just put a PayPal link on the band's website that says, we know you have it. Like, why don't you just pay us whatever you think it's worth? And they didn't do that because it was the last record for Capitol. And they were like, how the hell would we even settle up with Capitol? Like worst case scenario, we get a lot of money and then we have to divide it up with the label or worse, right? But then it was their next record where they did the pay what you want. So I always thought that was interesting that actually the kind of the pay what you want model for Radiohead actually kind of came from Winamp. Yeah. There was like there was a direct line between the two. But yeah, Winamp it was seminal, man. I really, and like a true Cinderella story from an investment perspective too. We had no debt, no equity in that company. And, May of '99, kind of height of the .com bubble, with a super good outcome. It was the other interesting thing about that was AOL bought another company called Spinner at the same time. Yeah. So there's Josh Felser at Freestyle Capital. He was one of the principals in Spinner, and Dave Samuel was the other one. Those guys are still, friends, and they're around the Bay Area. But Winamp was 4 people with no overhead and 30 million users in 1999, which is nuts. Like Spinner was trying to be Pandora, and they had like 15,000 users. You know what I mean? Like it was also that lesson in like scale. Platforms scale, services, much more difficult.
Yeah. And then you went on to run Yahoo Music. And then Beats Music, you were the CEO of. You have an incredible picture if you Google with Tim Apple and
This Tim?
The real Tim Apple and Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, who, we were talking about this last night when I was asking you to be on the podcast. You were like, the one advice Jimmy Iovine always said, don't be boring on any of the radio shows.
Be boring.
And so,
when we were building Beats One, which I guess now is Apple One, but the Zane Lowe radio show on Apple Music. The whole time we were building it, like Jimmy would literally just poke his head in the door every day, ask Zane, and he would just go, "Don't be boring." That was his whole. That was all he cared about. Don't be boring.
That's pretty good advice.
That's pretty much all. All it takes to have a successful podcast. If there's one and only rule, it'd be that one.
So how'd you go from Beats to LVMH?
Crazy. So, for me, I had started doing streaming music in the early 90s. And it was literally science fiction, right? I built an application for the Indiana University Music Library where you could search the card catalog and then stream the music from the computer under my desk to the computer on my desk, right? So that was like, then, we just kind of moved the computer further and further apart and then put more music in. But it was like fucking Groundhog Day for me for 20 years doing streaming music with that. And then Winamp, and we built a streaming service at Yahoo. And then we had a company called Topspin in the 2008 to 2012 where we did it like direct to consumer. And then, Beats Music. And then that became Apple Music. And when I remember, watching Tim Apple walk out on stage with the words "We love music" behind him. And I was so proud. I was like, fuck, man, this is my life's work. Yeah. It was totally, you can imagine, in 1993, you're talking about 97, 93, I would tell people, I'm studying computer science and I'm making music. They would just go talk to somebody else at the party, right? It's like, why would you do that? It's like if you started talking about like Bitcoin 10 years ago. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, cool, bro. Yeah. So when Apple Music launched, I really I felt great. And then I was also like, I gotta get off this bus. You know what I mean? Like we did it and now it's done. Now it's an oligopoly. It's Apple and Amazon and YouTube and Spotify. Mm-hmm. And, you and I aren't going to go create the next SoundCloud, it's a solved problem now. But I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I wanted to go where there was disruption. And then I get a call from a recruiter and they asked me if I knew about LVMH. I said, no. I didn't know. I didn't know there was one, family in France that owned all these brands. And then, they tell me Louis Vuitton and Dom Perignon. I'm like, okay, well, I listen to hip hop, so I know the brands. Sure, I know the brands. I didn't know.
That's amazing.
I didn't know there was one French family that owned them all and Sephora. That's news to me. But, so it was a recruiter. But the more I dug in, it became the more interesting it got. I mean, I met Alexandre Arnault and was just blown away. I thought he was really just cool. Yeah. And
so that's the founder's son, just so people know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bernard Arnault, exactly. Not the founder, he's the CEO, sorry.
The patriarch is Bernard Arnault, and he has 5 children, and one of the sons, the middle son, is Alexander, and that's, who I met first and was just blown away by. And so you keep you do your diligence, you follow the thread. But to me, it lined up with 2 things I believe about the internet. I think that the internet has been moving us from mass culture to niche culture. And so as somebody who grew up with skateboarding and punk rock and, early hip hop, that's to me has been what I've always liked about the internet, is that it's moving us away from kind of monoculture and to more niche. Now, also it's what's creating, problems at the moment if you look at the political landscape, but that we can talk about that later. Yeah. But, and then I also think that the internet is moving us away from kind of marketing being hyper efficient and to quality being hyper efficient. And what I mean by that is, if you and I are making a movie and we have $2 million extra dollars, in the old days you would spend that money, putting Johnny Depp's face on the cups at Burger King, right? Because you weren't trying to make Citizen Kane, you were just trying to get people to go to theater A instead of theater B. Yeah. But I think in the internet world, it's the opposite. We've all seen, whether it's Tiger King or the Bulls documentary, not because Netflix did such an amazing job marketing them, but because of word of mouth, right? So we've moved from a world where marketing is hyper efficient to a world where quality is hyper efficient. At a certain point, you get diminishing returns on marketing because you can't even reach everybody. How do you even get to them? But word of mouth is super, super, super strong. So when I looked at LVMH, I went, oh, look, LVMH is a collection of brands that are focused on quality. And they are niche by definition. People, I get in trouble when I say that Louis Vuitton is niche, but it's niche, right? If you put the number of people who buy Louis Vuitton every year over the number of people on planet Earth, that is a very, very, very small, percentage.
They just buy a lot.
But it's all, it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
It's all relative. And so I think, but the dynamics of having a brand that people are passionate about, and they're passionate about it because, there's a lot of effort put into creativity, quality, craftsmanship. From my perspective, that just works online. Like, okay, that works. If you do that, that magic trick, you can do it over and over again, and it'll work. So anyway,
for the listener, would you say, if we had to oversimplify your job and what you worry about every day, is it how that family of brands lives online? Is that too broad?
That is kind of the original vision. And then I had to, try to drill down on that and go, what does this actually mean? Mm-hmm. Scott Galloway, when I first took the job, he said, Chief Digital Officer, isn't that kind of like Chief Electricity Officer? And he's right, it is, because it's not like there's, two worlds, a digital world and a physical world, but that's kind of the way they treated it. Yep. So, practically speaking, it's about the transformation to e-commerce. It's about, how do you talk to your consumers at a distance, not just when they walk into your store. It's about how do you use data, both on the supply chain side and in the, customer relationship side. And then it's also about mastering the super fast moving and increasingly important digital world in China.
Yep.
That's really, what the job is today.
Seems like quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
You know what else?
But yeah.
My one other question is because I would, I used to have a podcast called Short Story Long. and I could probably do a whole episode just asking you questions. But the one question that I have is, what would you attribute, to me growing up, I grew up skateboarding in Ohio, you grew up skateboarding in Indiana. We're pretty much relatives. Not many people from that background make it to Paris to the chief digital officer of LVMH. What do you think differentiated, where did that drive come from? Did you have a mentor of some sort or what? You made a pretty big leap.
It's a good question. And if you want to do that podcast, I'm down. Okay. I think a few things. First of all, I got lucky and my two passions, music and computers, were valuable at the right time. I graduated college in 1994. I'm a little older than you guys. And with a degree in computer science. So
that's crazy. What made you actually, hold on, in 1994 to major in computer science? Yeah. That's actually, growing up in Indiana, that is revolutionary.
Yeah. Skateboarding, and you're like, this will do it.
No, but the other thing I was going to say, the kick in the ass was, and this is where I'm a true Indiana boy. I had a kid when I was 17, right? So I thought I was just going to, skate and smoke weed for the rest of my life. But I had, then my girlfriend was pregnant and I was like, shit, I don't want to live in a trailer park. So I need to do something. But so here's where, again, where luck comes in. And I think about this all the time because it's a real example of nature nurture. So I had a stepdad for, 7 or 8 years, from my kind of age 7 to age 14. And he was a computer guy. He had studied computer science at Indiana University in the 70s.
Wow.
He didn't finish his degree at that time. He went back maybe in the 80s and finished it. But we had an Apple II computer in the house. And there was a little college at Goshen College, which is a little Mennonite college in northern Indiana, where they had a computer class for kids that I started taking when I was 8, and I was the class assistant when I was 10.
Yeah,
I have this little card that says I'm a level 2 computer programmer, and the date on it is 1982.
Wow.
And so what happened though is, so my mom and him divorced when I was 14. And then it was kind of, what you might expect. Like my mom worked nights. I had a mini ramp in the basement. Like I would come home from my school. My friends were already there. There were no computers. There was no thought of computers in my life. It was skateboarding and snowboarding and girls and weed and music. Right. And
sounds great.
And then when my girlfriend was pregnant, then when I was 17 and I went to the community college at Indiana University, South Bend, I actually started as an education major. But then I talked to my former stepdad and he was like, Ian, I actually was, hey, I'm doing my friends' homeworks in their computer class. It's funny, I still remember that stuff, right? And he was like, Ian, change your major right now. He's like, trust me. I was like, man, I don't even know what these computers are. Like, they're like IBM clones or something. And I haven't touched a computer since an Apple II.
Yeah.
And he was like, they're all the same, man. So I walked into the guidance counselor's office and I declared my major as computer science. She handed me her business card and said, email me. And I went, okay, I will. And then I walked out.
How do you email
figure out what email is? I'd never heard of it. I had never heard of it.
I don't think most people had heard of email in the 90s, to be honest.
Well,
Early
I
90s?
was declaring my major computer science, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But he was going in for a computer science major. Yeah.
Anyway, that was how I. But it was.
Is your stepdad a billionaire? If he was this forward in technology in the 80s,
he became a data programmer at at Atlas Dye, a tool and dye company in Northern Indiana.
Wow.
I still keep in touch with him.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm just blown away by that. I just, not everyone, of course don't want to generalize, but usually when your high school life is girls, weed, skateboarding in a basement in Indiana, you don't.
We know where that ends up.
Yeah,
Right in that basement of Indiana.
I'll tell you, Trauma, another lucky thing that happened to me. I mean, part of it is also work ethic, which I think is something a lot of us from the Midwest have. People from the Midwest, they're nice and they work hard. I mean, that's a generalization, and I hate generalizations, but it's you can almost count on it when you're hiring people, right? And
that's how I feel about Mormons.
They're nice and they work
They're
hard.
definitely nice.
I don't know if I have a work hard attributed to
no,
Mormons.
Mormons in finance are beasts.
Really?
So when I was in investment banking, there's a whole Mormon gang that just is at Goldman Sachs and all the top
Going
firms.
door to door.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt. But
No. Please do. But I think the other thing is just you said the word drama mentors, right? And I just got lucky. I had this guy that ran the music library at Indiana University. He had a vision. I managed to run with it. I built a website for one of my favorite bands, the Beastie Boys. Their manager called me up, John Silva, who I talked to yesterday. However many years later, almost 30 years later, 28 years later, and the Beastie Boys are the ones that got me out of Indiana, brought me to LA. And then from there, I met this guy Jim Evans, who was a surfer and an artist, and he brought me into his company as the chief technical officer in 1995. And then I met that guy I mentioned earlier, Rob Lord, who brought me into Nullsoft, makers of Winamp. And then I met this guy, Dave Goldberg, who was Sheryl Sandberg's husband, who passed away a few years ago. But he's the one who bought Rob and I's next company and brought us into Yahoo and set me up for success at Yahoo. And then I met this guy, Peter Gocher, who started, he invented Pro Tools and started DigiDesign. And he brought me into another company called Media Code. And then I had, Jimmy knocking on my door for a lot of years. And I finally said yes to that, which I'm so glad I did. And, so just, it is definitely about mentors. But I think also what good mentors do, I remember watching one of those documentaries, maybe it was a Tom Petty documentary, and I see Jimmy Iovine yelling at Tom Petty. And I'm like, oh shit, I know what that feels like. Yeah. I've had Jimmy yelling at me many, many, many times. But what I realized is I'm lucky to be in that club of people that Jimmy yells at. Because what someone like Jimmy does is he finds people that he thinks have promise, and then he yells at them to see if it's true or not. You know what I mean? And if it's true, you end up doing things that you didn't know you were capable of doing.
Yeah, I think
that's where the mentorship thing really matters, I think.
Yeah,
and
it's really cool, man.
And I think, I know we're going to go on the news, but the thing about Ian that he's understating is that obviously he's nice and he works hard, but he's actually really fucking smart.
Yeah. Well, I could tell that.
The 94 computer science is all I need to hear.
And the thing is like even just after almost nearly every episode, I'll wake up to a text message from Ian, saying, have you read this? Have you listened to this? And like he is obviously extremely well read, cultured, knows the world, and he sent me a list of topics he felt like he is comfortable talking about, and it's everything. He was like from cryptocurrency to China to politics.
Thing is, it's not like I put movies and TV or Netflix. I don't watch moving pictures. Like you know what I mean? Like if you still want to talk to me about Netflix or movies or sports, like I'm useless. My belief is you are what you do, right? So you have to do what you want to be. And so I invest my time into things that I care about. Like, I read a lot, but I still skate a lot. I play guitar. I try not to waste a moment.
I agree.
Send me any good book recommendations. I know Dee doesn't want those.
I've got lots of them.
Yes.
Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this author, John Higgs?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to set you off on John Higgs. He's my favorite.
Perfect.
At the moment.
Yeah, I'm just blown away. And then, like Dee said, we'll get into some news and make sure we're not being boring. But that's what I love about like hearing these stories is, your job, I think being at LVMH, which is obviously making so much noise and just so important, and then in charge of digital, which is obviously the most important thing in the world right now, is fascinating and really important. And I think like for younger people, learning how you even get there, because you can't go to a college and say, I want to be the CDO of LVMH, right? There's no career path to just get there. You got to kind of figure it out on your own. So,
well, this is, let me just address that for one second, because I do think it's important. And, I have a 30-year-old now and I have a 14-year-old and my girlfriend in Paris has a 6-year-old. So, I think we got to, like Wu-Tang, we got to be for the children. And I think that the answer is, I think Naval Ravikant has it exactly right, which is like, if you can, and you guys talk about education a lot, and I agree with you, when Naval says, look, if you can be trained to do it, so can someone else, right? Yeah. So that's not the answer. And the schools that we have today, which are really like gearing people to be conformists, that are, they're schools that make workers for an industrialized age. That's over. The best advice I can give anybody is you are what you do. If you want to be super good at watching Netflix, you should watch a lot of Netflix. if you want to be good at something else, then you should spend your time doing that.
Yeah,
that's pretty fucking simple.
Yeah,
there's not a school that is gonna, there's not a school that's gonna turn you into the guy that invented Ethereum, right? Yeah. Like it's only interest and passion and curiosity that gets you to that point. Yeah. And so, I think really, I hate to say it, but school is not the answer. The answer is, to find your passion and, go all the way and become the expert in that. And then once you're the expert in that, people will want you for that.
Yeah. I think what you did, Ian, just now, you probably motivated a portion of people, but you got a lot of people saying, I'm going to watch a shitload more Netflix and just make sure.
Then you could be the
CTO of Netflix.
Yeah, if I just watched every single thing on Netflix and I'm the only person in the world that's seen every single thing.
That's how I feel about video games. I feel like there's now pro video gamers. And I feel like that just broke people's brains. Because it was always like, yo, you can't sit around and fucking play video games all day. And it's like, look at FaZe Clan. They're making millions of dollars and that's all they did, right? But maybe one day there'll be a professional Netflix watcher job.
Yeah.
I know plenty who are in the running.
Yeah. But that's what blows my mind about your thing, Ian, is I feel like more and more school is irrelevant. And I feel like all the jobs in the future are jobs that, like when you went to college, the thought of being the CDO of LVMH was like, you might as well have been like building buildings on Mars. And you know what I'm saying? So you can't even train. I was going to
program ATM machines.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? Like, we think about what computer science meant when I started in 1991.
Exactly.
There was no World Wide Web. It didn't mean anything that had to do with normal people.
It just from the education perspective, you go to a college and your average age of a professor is in their 50s. Can they talk to you about how the world is in 2020? The answer is categorically no.
And every job that will be available, every big job that will be available in 20 years you don't even know to train for it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got to get in some news.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Short Story Long. For everyone who said it was over, it's not.
It's not. It's a new section.
Drama just hijacked our podcast.
Okay, let's talk about some digital stuff.
This is big.
Instagram has some new features. It looks like, what is it? They have tabs for Reels, which, I mean, can we just
Yawn.
move on from
Told you
Reels?
guys that
already?
The update really pissed me off.
God, okay, but I'll gloss over that and we can talk about both. And then they have a tab for shopping. That's big news.
Yeah.
Reels, throw it out.
So here, you know what? It's so interesting is when an app like Instagram makes an update, it is one of the biggest pieces of news in the world. Hundreds of millions of people use this app every single day, and you're effectively changing their experience overnight. And what they signaled in this update, forget Reels, because I think that's still a joke, is that shopping is their future. I don't see anyone shopping on Instagram yet, but they are determined to figure it out. And I will give the robot the benefit of the doubt. The robot has won in many of these fights in the past. And I think the update, look, we don't realize like how many unique users is Instagram? 500 million?
No, they're
A billion?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so 1 billion people woke up to the new update. There's nothing.
That's what's crazy.
That's crazy. 1 billion. And so everyone's joking about it on Twitter, but like, you know how much of a thought they've given to this to make this update? So the focus on Reels is interesting. I think we can all agree that they've missed that so far, but I'm not counting them out on that. I'm still not counting them out on it. And then shopping. I've spoken to a lot of brands regarding shopping. Some people have said it has converted a little. We've tried it on one of the brands and it has converted a little, but I don't know. I mean, I'd love to hear Ian's take on this. This is your world. Like, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think, like you said, I mean, first of all, you got to give Facebook, Instagram credit for being this incredible product machine, and they've actually been able to transform themselves in a way that people hadn't in the past. You know, I mean, I feel like in our lifetime, we watched, Microsoft try to be AOL. We watched AOL try to be Yahoo. We watched Yahoo try to be Google. We watched Google try to be Facebook. But Facebook has actually like held on in a way that, and they've been willing to, kind of change their products. Like when they launched Stories, I thought, oh, come on, you copycats. Like you're just trying to be Snapchat. But then they did.
That shit worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way. Don't count them out on Reels. I'm obviously it's a direct attack on TikTok, and I would say, come on, copycats. Except, well, you did it last time, so maybe on shopping. I'll borrow something from our friend Anish, which is he put it very well. He said, there's discover, there's find, and there's buy. And generally speaking, like discover and buy are highly fragmented, right? Because there's no super site for discovery. Like if you think about it in travel, you don't go to like travel.com to discover where you're going to go shopping. It's much more personal. And it's fragmented. But then you turn to an oligarch when it's time to buy a plane ticket, right? You go to Kayak or Skyscanner or Booking.com or Airbnb. There's some oligarch in the middle that you go to, but then they ship you off. You might go to Skyscanner and then end up on Turkish Airlines. Like you would never go to TurkishAirlines.com, but you might land there from the find thing in the middle. So that's just like when Anish and I talk about this, that's kind of the model that we use. Like what category is something in? Is it about discovery, about find, or about buy? So Alibaba, Google Shopping, Amazon, that's clearly find, right? Those are oligarchs. The interesting thing is that, Instagram is really in the discovery bucket. Yeah. Right. So what I would say is I think they already are very powerful on discovery. Right. So if you think about for luxury brands, consumers have a relationship with luxury brands on Instagram. They see that brand there, but then they might end up on the brand site to buy something. They might go to Google and search. They might end up on a search engine like list.com or even on Farfetch, to be in that to find. But like Instagram is a very real discovery point. And so I think that it will be impactful, but I don't think you can put it in the category as being like a competitor to Amazon. Yeah. I don't even think that's what they want. I think they just see it as a shortcut between discover and buy. Yeah. So, and I think that will, have an impact. It will have a value.
Don't you think one of my like early arguments would be, I think almost discovery and then find and buy are like separate by nature. Like you don't want to find and buy in the same place you discover. It's the coolness of where you discover that makes you even open to discovering. As soon as you know you're being targeted to find and buy, you're no longer open to. Don't you think that's a risk with this? That's the only risk I see when I see.
Definitely do. I definitely do. I think so too. I think that people, when you're in that discover mode, it's all about trust, right?
Yeah.
The thing I would say though is that if it's a brand that you trust, you know, like people are asking me all the time about, well, what about Amazon? You know, they want to come into luxury fashion. My question is simple, like what value do they add? Right? Mm-hmm. Because if I see a Celine handbag on Instagram that I want, and then whether I go to Google or I just go to Celine.com, like it's not like I have questions about, I'm worried about giving my credit card to Celine, or I'm worried about the delivery. No, it's Celine, right? So I think that you're right, but if I'm already following Celine because I like Celine, and then Celine provides me the convenience of just clicking through to buy.
Yeah.
I don't think because I totally get your point in terms of being sold, but I think that there's a lot of those trusted relationships on Instagram where you're kind of pre-sold, right? And so that the buy is really much more of a convenience than it is, something else.
That makes sense. That makes sense more than saying they could take out Amazon.
That's my point. I don't think it's an Amazon competitor in the slightest, but I don't think that's their intent.
So if you just go back to Reels, the reason why I don't think it's going to be competitive, if you look at the last 9 to 10 months, every month globally, TikTok has been the number one app downloaded every single month.
Yeah.
And I think what they were able to do with stories is they made sure people of our age don't migrate to Snap and keep us on Instagram with this new feature. The problem is the young people never actually left Snap, and it's reflected in the user base. I think they still have 250 million users on Snapchat, and Snapchat's on fire.
But didn't the usage kind of change? Like, didn't stories on Snap kind of become more relevant where Snap became more of a messaging thing, or is that just I think
you're probably right. I think it became like how they communicate. And I think what Snap was able to do is keep young people on Snap and people our age stayed on Instagram because stories was good enough for us.
Yep.
But the young person has already been captured by TikTok and they're not going to use it for Reels. And I don't think people our age are going to be using Reels. So they're not going to be able to replicate what they did with Snap. Because stories is more relevant for Zoomers like us than Reels.
I also think this might be I might be thinking too small here, but I think when Instagram stole stories from Snapchat, Instagram was at peak coolness. Like Instagram was everything. Snapchat was this new kid like trying to make it happen. Now Instagram has started to feel a little bit more like it's going the way of Facebook. And TikTok is finally that fresh new thing that everyone craves so bad. It feels like a different time in like the story of the brands, like where no one even wants that product from Instagram. People are already kind of open to a newer, cooler place to go.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my worry. Technology aside and like ability to create a good product aside, because we all know they can do that. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like going the direction of shopping is almost a totally different direction that probably they're going to have a lot more success than trying to
stay
be the hot
relevant.
new product. Yeah. You know?
And it should become increasingly more fragmented, right? Discord's popularity is growing. 30% of the usage of Discord is non-gaming. That's time spent away from Instagram, away from all these other platforms.
What are you doing on Discord?
So
hate.
Hate
is big.
Hate's big.
It's a social network. So
it's talking.
Yeah,
right?
it's talking. So like I have a friend who's a fantasy football junkie who pays for fantasy advice, and he has to go on Discord to get his fantasy football advice.
And people are doing kind of like a podcast type thing?
No, they're just talking.
But is it people like with microphones? Are we on video?
I think you can do audio and just
text.
Because I know all the
you can definitely do audio.
use Discord while they're gaming.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do audio definitely. You can do text. I don't know if you can do video.
Somewhat like Reddit. You can do video.
You can.
I think you can do like small form.
Are you on Discord, Pete?
A little bit, just like randomly. It requires me to go over there.
So I'm not old. It's more still.
Yeah, it's pretty new. Even I just heard about it probably in the last 6 months.
You've only heard about Discord in the last 6 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm not huge into gaming in that whole community, but.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I literally in my head, I just keep hearing Jimmy Iovine popping in the door saying, "Don't be boring."
So then move the fuck up.
We'll see what happens.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna say one more boring thing. I apologize. But
No, please.
But the thing I would caution is, your phone lumps like all these apps into one category called social media, but that's kind of as much bullshit as saying the word digital, right? Like the fact is that you're right. There's shopping, there's content, there's chatting. These are three totally separate timelines.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think about the history of the internet unlocked distribution, and then the history of the internet is just filters on all of that stuff.
Yep.
Right. And then so there's an evolution along that content timeline. And then what's the killer app on the internet? It's always been email, Usenet, communication. Okay, well, Snap, that's a different timeline. And the problem is we're always trying to put those timelines together because we're like, we use Instagram to chat, but we also use Snapchat to chat. We use Instagram as like a time waster, but we also use YouTube as a time waster. And, and then there's Google Shopping, Alibaba, these types of companies and applications, but that's another timeline. That's a third timeline. So for me, I think you got to separate them out into like, what is the core value that consumers are getting from this, and kind of like conflate them from the way that we just kind of lump them all into one category. And then to me, it becomes tractable. Like even Discord is just this like, guess what? The next generation is going to have a new Discord. We had IRC me and Angelo in the late 90s. Today, people have Slack. Tomorrow, the younger kids use Discord. Tomorrow, it's going to be something else. But that's just a timeline, that has this kind of natural evolution happening on it. And then that's where I think TikTok is much more a competitor to YouTube than it is to Instagram, which is actually the reason that Reels might not work from my perspective, because that's like Instagram trying to compete with YouTube, not just TikTok.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, what is the best brand for my balls? Manscaped, of course. Hold up. Is that a nose pube? Good thing our partners at Manscaped are here to ensure you're taking care of your manhood and your nose hairs with the new Performance Package. I personally hate nose hairs, especially having to pull them out. It's incredibly painful. And I look like a little baby with tears in my eyes as I'm trying to yank out those little hairs that are making me look so hideous. Manscaped Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Included in this new package is the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which I got right here in my hands. For those watching, if you aren't watching, well, you're missing out on seeing this amazing thing, which is waterproof and uses 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual blade system, which is a lot of fancy words for saying this is one badass nose and ear hair trimmer. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Look, fellas, 79% of partners polled admitted that long nose hair is a major turnoff. Why not use the best tools for the job here? This bundle includes the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, the best trimmer on the market for your balls, butt, and body. Let's not forget their famous liquid formulations, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner to maximize your ball hygiene routine. Get the Performance Package now to receive their 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. I love the boxers because they're incredibly comfortable and very sleek. Also, you will receive a replaceable blade every 3 months to keep your weed whacking and lawn mowing time clean and enjoyable. The Performance Package is the best value that Manscaped has to offer. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code GROUPCHAT at manscaped.com. Thank you, Manscaped, for making our holes look sexy. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code GROUPCHAT at manscaped.com. Boy, that's 20% off. With free shipping at manscaped.com, use code GROUPCHAT. What are you waiting for? Go whack your weeds. It's an incredible also holiday gift for anybody out there. Holidays are coming up. Go get your man what he needs. Or your husband or your son. I don't care however it is. The male in your life, go ahead and hook him up. We've got you covered with code GROUPCHAT. Thank you so much for listening to today's sponsored. And if you haven't already, head over to thementalhouse.com and pick up yourself some Group Chat merch. That's right, Group Chat merch. We just released it called Group Chat University. It's only going to be available for 1 week. After Saturday this week, we're pulling it. We're pulling it and it's done with. We'll ship out orders and that'll be the end of Group Chat University. We collabed with Melrose Place to bring you incredible blinks and incredible value It's all half off. Dee is crazy and made it half off for the 1 week. So don't miss out. Once it's gone, it's gone. Head over there. And if you're international, head over to grandrunningclub.com and you're going to pick it out over there on grandrunningclub.com/group chat. You'll order it there for international shipping. Everybody else, head over to thementalhouse.com. And if you're a Mental Club member, you get 25% off and free shipping. So even more reason if you're already a Mental Club member, because if you're a Mental Club member, it pays to be a member. All right, guys, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get you back into today's episode.
Okay, Ian, big news for guys like us. Bookshop.org.
Yeah.
We're taking down Amazon.
It shockingly might. Ian sent me this article. This a book, I guess it's a book site it's a bookshop aggregator. Would that be the best explanation of that?
It's far-fetched for
Yeah,
books.
the
That's how I
idea
see it.
Yeah, it's far-fetched for books. That's what it is. I think I sent you guys a long time ago because our friends have that thing Parade World, which is like Farfetch for skate shops. You know, I think one of the things that I know about Farfetch is that, you know, you have a lot of these little boutiques, like, you know, a little place, you know, could be in a big city or a small city that, you know, they buy wholesale, they sell retail. That's a tough business, as we know. And getting tougher because people can buy things from the superstores online. But when you aggregate them together, it's a lot of inventory. And so this is somebody who, you know, if you're a consumer who cares about, you know, small bookshops existing, then you can buy from bookshop.org. Okay, is it as big as Amazon? Of course not. But again, like I said at the beginning, we're moving kind of from mass to niche. You know, and if you look at the conversation we just had about Discord and people moving off of big platforms onto smaller platforms, I think that's just like a constant, you know, churn cycle on the internet. And I think, you know, in some ways, like you can imagine a post Amazon world, because you don't need Amazon for everything. Amazon is a great place to, you know, buy a commodity or buy batteries. But, you know, if you have a relationship with the bookseller, it can be, you know, it can actually be meaningful. And okay, will everyone do this? No. But like Seth Godin says, you know, what's the minimum viable audience? Like, can it be enough people that it's interesting? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Bookshop here did 50,000 in the entire month of February. In June, they're doing $1 million a day.
Wow.
Wow.
Wait, $50,000 total revenue in February?
All of February.
What was the cause of the change?
COVID. I'm sure it's COVID.
It's got to be like that.
Yeah,
And,
they had to do
of
some
bikes.
sort of like marketing, right? I mean, 50,000 to $1 million a day?
I'm sure. I mean, just think about it. People just started buying books, and then more bookstores who probably couldn't open joined the platform to sell their inventory.
Yeah, probably a lot of that. Here's my only question is, do you think, like, if you can get pretty much all of that inventory on Amazon, but it's easier to search, you know where to go, they get it to you quicker, do people care enough to support something like this?
I would put it slightly differently. I would say, do enough people care for it to be an interesting business?
Yeah.
Do enough people care that bookshops can stay open? Right. You know, that to me was why the Parade World thing was interesting to me in skateboarding. Is it going to be, you know, the next, $10 billion business? Probably not. But could they do enough where some skate shops don't need to close their doors, right? Yeah. And for me, I spent more time than money at the skate shop when I was a kid, and you know what I mean? So I think that, again, like that's why I like the concept that Seth Godin has of minimum viable audience. You know, something doesn't have to be the winner take all to be interesting.
Yeah.
I think that, will enough people care for it to be an interesting business? Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, $1 million a day, I think.
Enough people
Well,
care.
I would say Amazon probably at this point lacks in curation for books.
Yeah.
You have to know what book you want in order to go to Amazon. I don't think you go there for discovery.
Can I tell you something about Amazon books that will blow your mind away?
Please, yeah.
Not just, I don't know if it's just for books. I experienced it. I don't return anything. I've never returned anything in my life.
Just in general?
In general, never.
Your wife does.
My wife does, though.
Got it.
So
I had to handle some of those
family.
returns.
Got it.
So I don't actually return anything. So yesterday she was like, "Hey, we bought like a gate for Dom. Can you return it?" She's like, "The label's printed. Just literally drop it off and take these 2 books." And I'm like, "No book, no box, no label. what am I going to do with this? I don't want to sit and package it at the fucking UPS store.
Yeah.
She goes, no, all you do is show them this UPC code. They scan it and you just hand them the book. And I'm like, no way. So I went to UPS.
Where's it go?
Amazon. They package probably so much returns for Amazon. All they need is she texted me the UPC thing. I handed the guy the book and he's like, cool, do you have the code? I'm like, yeah, here. I'm like, that's it? He goes, yeah, that's it. I was like, fuck, that's amazing.
And that was to return them?
Return them. They probably aggregate all the book returns. I don't know if
they pack it themselves.
They pack it themselves and just ship it back, so they can be
But
a
they
little
pack them
more.
all in one box too.
Yeah, you can probably put them all in one
Put
box.
like $10 in.
You know how much
10
money you
UPS.
save?
Yeah.
For
Why is
Amazon?
everyone returning so many books?
I mean, so in our case, we had 2 kids' books. We read them, and Haley's like, these suck.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you gonna do? And she's like, I'm gonna return them. I'm like, wow, bold move. Boom.
She's the returner of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have one of those.
You honestly can return anything on Amazon. They just take it.
Do you think there's
so much
anything
volume.
Anything Amazon you could do that same thing with? Or is that specifically a book?
I don't know. That's my next thing. I want to like open up like
Yeah.
a bag of candies and say, you know what?
You know,
There's
I
86
actually have a
years
good
of-
Take it
story.
to the-
We bought some sort of table, and we packed it up, put it in the trunk of our car. I went to the gas station to get something out of the trunk. It all fell and shattered. So there's glass everywhere in the gas station.
Oh my
and
God.
I freaked out. I was like, man, I'm screwed. I just put whatever I could back in the box.
Yeah.
Gave it to UPS or whatever, sent it back, full refund. The whole thing was unusable as shattered.
From Amazon?
Yes. It was like $700. It wasn't like a $20 item.
They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for the gas station. They had a pile of
That's
glass.
true. They're the ones who lost in that whole equation.
Oh, don't worry. The vendor gets to eat shit. As a big seller of Amazon, I know. There's just
Yeah.
piles of shit sitting everywhere of our stuff all over the country in warehouses.
Insane.
Okay, but
I think the interesting thing about the bookshop thing is, you know, again, consumers are smart. You know, people say all the time, like, oh, Amazon's going to own everything. But like nobody goes to Amazon and looks for a plane ticket, right? Like people know where to get stuff. People who are sneakerheads, they know where to go to get what it is they're looking for, right? So I think you got to give consumers more credit. And I think over time, yeah, I mean, you know, hey, Alexa, get me some batteries. You know, that's super, super handy, right? But I think there are, you know, for things that you care about, for things that you know, you have some kind of passion about, you want to go to the place or the communities where that passion exists.
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair.
Okay. All right. Next up, we've talked about a lot of people who have, we've talked about people who have had a tough time this year. We've also talked a lot about people who have seen a lot of success this year. And we have a story about one business that has seen quite a bit of success here in Q3
Yep.
that you might not expect.
Who?
Monster Energy. Monster Beverages.
I'm bringing this very simply because Pete, our resident consumer product expert, aka fucking dumbass, who said
On Thursday, Pete said it was over.
He said
it was
no one's.
over.
He said the weird kid
He
in
said
the corner is
Monster's over.
drinking Monster. No one drinks Monster. Monster's done.
And by
Because
the
you
way,
were talking about
I
earnings.
still
I was
stand
talking
by
about
it.
Celsius. I said
Celsius.
Celsius is the best drink I've ever
yes.
had.
okay, and then on top of that, your Bang has no sugar.
This is the fucking bubble, guys. I'm telling you, this is the bubble. Not
No,
thinking
he's
that
saying
Monster
Wisco. His Wisconsin folks.
No, I'm saying it at large.
No,
saying
he's
the
just been in
entire
LA
country.
too long.
Yeah, Pete's been at the Rosewood in Miramar too long.
Exactly. He's like, ew, Monster.
Just
I have no
to
touch
put
on
into
this.
perspective, they
Yes.
did $1.25 billion.
It's
on
fine.
it.
In a quarter.
I still
Yeah,
stand by
in
my
a quarter.
statement.
So it's like $5 billion business.
$350 million of profit. That means they're running 30% EBITDA
That's great
margins.
because you know who's going to take over all of that? Celsius.
Well,
I
mean, they're out the door. Celsius is
If you're
good
going to be a
stuff.
stock trader, you got to be a little less biased.
No,
you know?
because you just give the prompt at the front of it. Hey, don't take anything I say
No,
seriously.
I'm
and
about
you're
your
fine.
own account.
You know, Pete's.
Oh no, I'm fine.
You know, Pete's become one of those Silicon Valley entrepreneurs or investors that if I like the product, I invest in it.
Yeah.
So they back, high-end D2C brands because Pete thinks like he's high-end now.
He changed so quick. I've never seen someone move to LA and change quicker.
He's
than
like
Pete
an
did.
early Peloton investor.
Oh my God.
Just a
this guy.
jackass.
Oh,
Nice.
Shit. But why? I mean, why are people even getting so juiced up? You would think like Monster Energy.
I mean, I think it's just their grocery business probably is so big for them.
Everyone's sitting at home.
But
Why do you need energy?
Monster.
I think people just love sugar.
Sugar.
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, they also have their Celsius competitor, which is Reign, which apparently is their. I don't know if it's zero sugar, but it is their better for you kind of thing.
What's it called?
Reign. REIGN.
Just to
yeah,
clarify,
I've seen
this is
Reign.
Monster beverage,
Yes.
not necessarily
Yeah, just
the
don't.
energy drinks.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think the energy drinks are slowed down. My point
No.
is Pete was like, no one drinks it. It's over. It's for the open mouth breathers or whatever, like.
Once again, 71 million. How many votes Trump's final vote?
Something like that.
It's easy to walk around and be like, no one voted for Trump
Yeah.
in our bubble.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's the only reason why I wanted to bring it up. And everyone came back at me and saying Bang doesn't even have sugar. So,
So Pete knows nothing.
yes.
I don't know why you would ever.
I just want to say, like, the bubble is exactly why I listen to your show twice a week.
Thank you.
I lived in this LA bubble for 20 years, and it's a beautiful thing. The great
Yeah.
thing about LA is that everything is possible. The future is here tomorrow. And I live in a place where everything is impossible, and it feels like 20 years behind. So, the bubble talk is very, everyone's full of shit. All we're doing is triangulating, right? So I need the bubble input so that I can properly calibrate the French input.
Oh, that's good. What's funny is at the beginning we just went too long, but I was going to ask you why you listen to group chat. Just like you're in Paris, you're working on all these things. What do you gain from group chat? But that's it.
I mean, let's
That's
talk
it.
bubble.
I need to keep that LA perspective.
Okay, so we got to stay.
You guys give
We
it
gotta
to me
stay bubble.
efficiently.
So your advice would be stay bubble. Don't try to.
Don't try to
Look,
understand.
You guys wouldn't be able to do anything else.
I agree.
You're living in the bubble. You're living in the bubble. You see
I mean,
what you
Pete's
see what you
6
see.
months
News
removed
from
from,
the bubble,
fucking
man.
Wisconsin, and he acts like he's a
whoa,
juice
whoa,
drinker
whoa.
in Alfred's coffee.
Literally, he got.
I
into
don't
this
do any
bubble.
of that.
But guys, hold on. But Pete came to California. He's like us, right?
Yes.
Like all the time in France, people are like, "What's it like to be a guy from California and Apple who moved to Paris and LVMH?" And I'm like, I did my 23andMe. You know what I learned? I'm European. Right? So if you just reclassify kind of Americans as there's no such thing as an American. Like none of us are American if you do your like 23andMe, right?
Yeah.
And if you reclassify us as the people who left, though, Pete too. Pete did the same thing we did.
Yeah.
He got
It's just
the
how
fuck
quick he
out of
changed.
Wisconsin.
Pete
It's-
looks American
this is
as
what
fuck,
it is.
though.
To me, it's like
He's got a Houston t-shirt on. What are you
To me,
wearing?
it's like if you went to Paris for like 6 months and someone came and they said, "Well, how are you adjusting?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm getting, you know any good restaurants? I'm getting used to it." Pete, it was like 3 months, and he's like doesn't even remember home, and he's like, "I only eat at the finest restaurants. I can't, Monster Energy. What is that?"
Yeah.
It's just he just flipped quick.
Yeah, his transition.
I think it's
That's my
just the
point.
ability
He's that-
to adapt.
He is that Wisconsin person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my point.
He absolutely is.
Just like our ancestors were those Europeans.
yeah.
This guy's talking
got
about
out.
Datadog stock and Snowflake stock. And Monster's nothing.
Legs crossed. Monster. Yeah.
By the way, Monster does more business and more profits
Yeah.
than all those companies combined.
Oh my
Maybe you should go invest in Monster next.
You absolutely
That seems like a
should.
safer bet for
Yeah,
you. You actually
No,
probably
no,
could
no.
understand that.
Buy low, sell high. Sell the Monster, buy the Celsius.
Okay, next up. This one's a shocker to me because I went there a month ago and they said they have never seen sales.
That's why I brought this up there.
Okay, so the guy has said he's worked there for a decade. He's never experienced sales like this. The whole place looked like a warehouse sale. Everything's just, they can't even keep it in stock. Guitar Center
Yeah.
just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
So you're not our on the field reporter.
I am terrible on the field
And
reporter.
here's the thing. There's an article here, and we'll just talk about it in this segment, that golf is booming. Okay?
Yeah.
That golf is up like some ungodly percentage over the last year. And I've spoken to random Cathys who've told me who work at pro shops and run golf courses saying they've never seen revenue like this.
Yep.
I figured, similar to books, similar to music, that music equipment purchases must be through the fucking roof. People are just picking up hobbies. I've always wanted to learn guitar.
But think about every person that worked at a studio
that
can't anymore. All these sound engineers, even the people that just have like the you know basic jobs. In music, they're all having to build these home studios.
Yeah, even Eric Deluxe, I was talking to him the other day. He's like, I'm not really working. And I'm like, but what are you spending money on? He's like, you know what? I went and bought so much equipment.
Yeah, Guitar Center.
Guitar Center.
Podcast. Everyone has a podcast.
Yeah.
We've been to Guitar Center a million times for this thing.
I think it's them just weaseling out of leases. That's all I think it is.
And they have a lot of debt.
I think it's probably the debt structure. Yeah. I think you're right, because I would bet you're right that overall, like, music equipment sales are up. But I think, first of all, like we talked about a second ago, buying wholesale and selling retail is a crappy business that's getting crappier, right? Because you have and if you have the physical overhead, it's also difficult because people know they can go direct to consumer for the thing that they want. Like you want a podcast mic, you search podcast mic, you end up on a site that tells you how to set up your whole podcast site. You go buy the mic directly from the manufacturer, right?
Yeah.
And I think the same thing. And you also have, I love this whole class of companies. Like in the music space, there's one called Orangewood Guitars. It's a LA-based company. The guitars are incredible. They're also incredibly cheap. But when you think about it, like they're making them in China at the same factories that the top guitars are made at, but they have no wholesale. If you have no wholesale, you are 50% off day one, right? With exactly the same product. So I think there's just disruption on all sides. I think you've got pure players like Musician's Friend and Thomann in Europe. People can buy guitars and keyboards from Amazon.
Yep.
People can buy direct from consumer. And then I think also on top of that, what you have is like piles of debt and huge stores that are closed.
Yeah, so they've gone through the private equity whirlwind.
Yeah.
So it's just debt on debt on
they've done
debt.
that.
Yeah. So it's been owned by private equity for years. And then the golf boom, which is interesting to me, is everyone we hear is playing more golf than ever. And then the Masters were this weekend, which is the biggest golf tournament of the year.
Yeah.
Ratings are down 20%.
You know why?
Well,
White people don't matter.
I was unclear from that story. Is it a golf boom or a Bill Murray boom? I was smelling more Bill Murray boom than golf.
Bill Murray's golf apparel brand is up over 150%. Bill Murray.
I've
Bill
never
Murray.
golfed once, and I would buy Bill Murray golf gear.
Is it
Exactly.
new?
I'm just
I
not sure
know.
if that's like a direct correlation to golf being off the charts.
Oh my God. Yeah. And that doesn't make sense because you would think you'd have all these new fans, right?
Yeah, that you'd want to watch professionals. If you're playing every day, not working, at least learn from the professionals.
Maybe you're out on the course and you can't, you don't have the time to watch it.
The reason why that's important, because I saw someone talk about it also, is you won't hear this on MAGA Twitter. It's all live sports are just not as interesting anymore. And not because there's no fans. It's just because we've now found other hobbies and interests and other things to distract us. So the Masters, which apparently Dustin Johnson won or winning or whatever, it's a historic record, whatever. But no one cares because everyone's out golfing and enjoying life. Or people are playing.
So Hulu needs to change that advertising. Hulu has live sports.
Yeah, no
That's
one
all
cares.
I know.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Hulu doesn't care about live sports.
Yeah.
That's what should be the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just like book sales probably through the roof. Everything that like occupies your mind or time had a record year.
Tennis
You
is
just
big.
have more choice. You just have more choice. I always used to joke that like growing up, my kids will never know the world that I grew up in, where on Sundays golf was the only thing on television.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've never golfed once in my life, but I watched golf when I was a kid because there was nothing else on TV when you only had 3 channels. And, today you just have too much choice.
Yeah.
I think that's the point.
But golf is so slow and they're like whispering.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on.
It's good for a nap.
Let's speed it up. Jimmy Iovine, don't be boring.
Yes.
Golf.
Don't be boring. Let Jimmy reprogram golf television.
I wonder if Jimmy
Watch
golfs.
that.
It'd be 3 holes.
I bet you. I'm going to take it
LeBron
back.
asked you, Jimmy does not golf.
Jimmy, no fucking chance he golfs it. That's what I was going to say. People like him, anyone who's like that, none of the top 50 people golf.
Top 50, what do you mean?
Wealth. You think Jeff Bezos is golfing?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Zuckerberg ain't golfing.
No, he's
Nah,
definitely
he's a
not.
fucking nerd.
Yeah. Elon Musk ain't golfing.
No, he's not golfing.
I can see Bill
It's
Gates
old money.
golf.
Old money was
Bill Gates plays a lot of tennis.
But he doesn't work. He's trying to put chips in everybody.
Here's the question: What's
That
the
doesn't
new?
take much time.
What's the new golf course? Like, remember that like old deals used to get done on the golf course. You go to what's the new version?
It's called
Discord.
Discord.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Parlor.
DM, Instagram DM,
What the hell is Parlor?
So
MAGA.
Is it a MAGA social media?
yes. So I don't know. He's saying it's called parlay. How do you pronounce
Well,
it?
I'm
Ian?
just saying, I don't know. The word to speak in French is parler,
Okay.
and that's it. So I'm
Oh,
sure
that's what they
where
say at
name
the
of
French
company comes
Open.
from.
Yeah.
Every time in between points. I know that word.
Parler. Right. So tu parles means you speak. So, but the word is parler, and so I'm sure that's where it came from, which is hilarious. That I'm sure not a single person who uses it.
Well, especially if it's MAGA, it's
So-
Parlor.
Yeah.
I'm on the parlor.
yeah.
I'm in the parlor.
Yeah, for real.
Parlor's user base doubled in the last 2 weeks.
Post-election.
Post-election. It was
Stop the
started
steal.
26-year-old dude out of University of Denver.
Okay.
It's backed by the Mercer family, which is one of the biggest
The
Republican
daughter.
donors.
The daughter.
The daughter.
And Mercer, just if you Google Mercer, there's a direct line to Cambridge Analytica, which he helped finance, Robert Mercer. So this guy, the family, in my opinion, they're viewed as like a big backer of conservative. I think they're big in anarchy, personally. I think that's what they want. They want chaos and they know how to profit from it. And this social media platform, or it's pretty much, they're big on free speech, but even the CEO, which is a 26-year-old kid, says those QAnon people freak me out.
You know
That's
what
what he even said.
you know what I find fascinating is how much unmet demand there is for MAGA.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
how-
so much unmet
Maria
demand.
Bartiromo
Yes.
just got on the platform. She's a Fox business commentator. Got 1 million users because she said, I'm leaving Twitter. I'm only going to be on Parler.
Yeah. If
So-
you're willing to go full MAGA,
Yeah.
Is
there's-
it MAGA
there's
or
a-
MAGA? I don't know.
Unclear. Depends on which, whether you're from the West
Let's
Coast or
go.
the East Coast.
So in the Midwest is it MAGA,
It's
and the
MAGA.
West Coast
West
is
Coast is
MAGA.
MAGA. It's a little bit more class.
little
Classy.
espresso drinking.
MAGA
elite.
sounds a little
Orange
scary.
County's MAGA. MAGA, those are the ones with the rifle.
But yeah, there's so much unmet demand. It's
I think
crazy.
it's such a. I think it's really, really like if you to me the parlay thing is it's representative though of there is something underlying it that feels like the shape of things to come to me, that in a way that is not unsurprising but pretty scary. And the way I would put it is this: if you go, to me, it's no different than back at the beginning of the internet. Right at the beginning of the internet, we had Usenet, and it was just they were basically message boards like Reddit for kind of every corner of the universe.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because there were a few 100,000 people on the internet, right? So it didn't impact civilization, right? So now we're at this point where we have 4.5 billion out of 7.5 billion people on the internet. And and the internet actually matters in lives. It matters in elections in a way that it just didn't matter when we first started talking about all this stuff. And so, the fragmentation though that the internet is based on is inevitable. Yet we live in a world of geography, right? So if you think about like, what does democracy mean? It means you draw a line around the earth and you're supposed to elect a leader who represents the ideals of the individuals who live inside of that geographical boundary, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's what democracy means. So I think that, in the world, the Indiana that my dad grew up in, where there was, people were kind of mostly middle or lower middle class, mostly white, mostly worked in, industrial type of jobs, it was probably possible to elect somebody who had the ideals of the people inside that geographical boundary. But now if you go to Goshen, Indiana, it's 30% Hispanic. Those industrial jobs are gone. You have people that are far poorer, more rich. That's just 150,000 people in Elkhart, Indiana. You're telling me where they're going to elect somebody who represents their ideals?
Yeah.
It's absurd. So what are people going to do? They're going to go to the parallel universe where there are no geographical boundaries. And if they post, hey, I'm going to go down to the Walmart and kill some Mexicans, they're going to find 100 people that are like, do it, bro.
Yeah.
This is the world we actually live in. We live in
Yes.
these two worlds at the same time where we're supposed to elect someone who represents our ideals of our geographic boundary. but the world of the people that we have an affinity to. And like when it was people like me who wanted to be on a message board with other people who liked hip hop in 1993, it was kind of, the internet was cute. It ain't so fucking cute now. Like it impacts the physical world.
Yes. And I think what Parler showed, they went from 5 to 10 million users in 1 week.
There's a gold rush in conservative media because Trump's
I'm
about to
going
launch.
MAGA. You know what?
I've been telling you this for
If you
years,
had gone
John.
MAGA 4
John,
years
I told you
Bring
this
me the
3
American
years ago.
flag. Get it
Yeah.
off the wall. I'm
Well,
wrapping
think about
myself
it.
in
Now that Fox News has conceded the election of Biden,
Yep.
you have 70 million people that are pissed,
Hungry.
hungry for different news.
Sounds
Yeah.
to me like open wallets.
Yeah.
Stop the steal.
You're exactly right.
All I gotta say is, we went to bed and it was all red on that map.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, votes start trickling in for Biden.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I need answers.
I have a friend who was at a dinner with an oil billionaire who tried to tell him Nancy Pelosi owned all the voting machines that were counting for Biden. This was a billionaire.
He's
I
a
heard-
moron.
I heard the same thing, actually.
Yeah, you heard the
and
same
you're,
thing?
and
There's
you're a
actually
big
some data
parlor.
behind that.
I actually think where there's a bigger gold rush is for ethnic people to go MAGA.
Yeah, there's an Indian MAGA dude who's crushing it.
Yeah.
Forget his name.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
bigger.
if you're black or Mexican, you should go
Yeah,
MAGA.
you could crush Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
If I went MAGA, I'd just be like, yeah, no shit, dude.
Yeah, we expected you.
White guy from Ohio.
Where have you been? Where have you been?
He's the
Drop
closet
it.
one.
Yeah.
I think we need to switch modern prescription. Let Deepak go full MAGA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern prescription. It's the new way of news. Modern prescription.
Yeah.
And just
Do
conservative
MAGA
media
people
talk.
get the plastic surgery type of thing though?
Everyone gets plastic surgery.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Good. We were saying, do MAGA people get plastic
Oh,
surgery?
from
I'm like,
Deepak.
yes,
Oh,
everyone.
yeah.
Everyone.
So maybe that would be good for
Trump's
him.
got a lot of Botox.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if I start shouting out parlor.com/dramamaga, give me a follow. Got a new business opportunity. Yeah, it just seems to me, the one thing, Ian, to your point, is it seems to me like the internet used to be like this reflection of real life. So like walking through your real life, you're a fan of hip hop, that reflects on the internet, you're just looking up hip hop. It almost seems like real life is becoming a reflection of what's happening on the internet. Like you spend all day in these weird, alt-right or alt-left, whatever, chat rooms or whatever it is, and you then go vote that way, or you then go show up to a rally because of that. Like there's people showing up to all these different rallies going on that were educated on why they're there, for good or for bad, on the internet, and now they're actually going and physically showing up.
Yeah.
That feels scary because what happens in real life is sort of policed. What happens on the internet isn't. So you can sit in your basement and become a QAnon member and then go out and show up to a rally, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that, what the internet is doing, like Tony Fadell says, it's basically just short-circuiting your brain. If you think about that thinking fast, thinking slow model, that's a book you should read if you haven't read it. The Daniel Kahneman book. It's a classic. But the only thing that we're doing is thinking fast, right? We've kind of like lost that delayed intuition where you go, let me think about if that makes sense or not. And I think and there are sociopolitical reasons for that. I think that, certainly like, what's gone on between between America and China over the past however many years, and really drama, and me and you and Pete we're all a part of this in a way, because what did we do? We moved from red states to blue states. Why did we do it? For work. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so simple on some level. So if you're that person that is there and life sucks, and then you're going to believe what what helps you get through the day.
Yep.
So it really, you can't, it's not just about the internet. It's not just about information. I think it's actually about this kind of the socioeconomic, trouble that's happened. One quick thing I remember back in the Napster days, you mentioned earlier, seeing on Charlie Rose, which I think is, you used to watch religiously.
My
right?
favorite.
Yeah.
That was my
You
favorite.
probably saw this one. I'm pretty sure it was Charlie Rose. They had both Chuck D from Public Enemy and Lars Ulrich from Metallica on talking about Napster.
Yeah.
And this is where I had this realization, because I watched it. I know the issue intimately. I knew the individuals who were on screen a little bit personally. And what I realized was there's no right or wrong here. You have one person for whom the system works. That's Lars Ulrich. This record label system where we sell compact discs works great for me. I'm rich. You have another person for whom the system didn't work. Chuck D had a shitty deal with his record label, and the system didn't work for him. So what was his answer? Burn it down. I don't care if you steal my music. I didn't make any money on that music anyway because of that shitty record label deal I had. So you just have people for whom the system works and people for whom the system doesn't work, right? It's kind of like that simple on some level. What I'm saying too is though the internet just adds this layer on top because because politics is geographic by definition and the internet is anti-geographic by definition.
Yeah.
So try to square those two things.
Yeah. No, it's very true.
Okay, next up, what, it wouldn't be a 2020 podcast if we didn't get a COVID update.
Yeah.
So from what I hear, cases are through the roof, record highs. Back home in Ohio, things are going nuts. School's back canceled. Sorry, but I called my mama Karen, and she tried to go back to school. Didn't work anyway. School's canceled. What's going on?
We're on fire.
On fire.
Yeah.
Yep. This is not a wave. This is an avalanche.
Yeah. This is like stocks only go up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coronavirus cases only go up.
Yeah. I mean, in South Dakota and North Dakota, where the North Dakota governor who refused to have any mandates, any restriction.
Yep, one of those
He even
guys.
said mask mandate, suspension of high school sports, and extracurricular activities until mid-December. And here's the funny. And a limit on indoor dining of 50% capacity or 150 people. So he's not going all the way.
Oh, man.
You know who stopped talking about coronavirus since the second wave? Clay Travis.
Yeah.
He's been mocking. He's a sports conservative media guy that supports Trump. He was mocking the virus since March. The last couple of weeks, I've went to his page. I do not see him talking about
Maybe
it.
you got it.
He probably, here's the
Maybe
thing.
you got it.
There's a lot of people that get it and are like, ooh, shit.
This is scary.
This is real.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This is the thing about being a conservative, which I love, is as long as you just ignore it and never mention it again, your base won't come back to
That
get you.
is the
If you're a
craziest. It's so
Democrat
true.
and you did blackface when you're in high school in the 60s because you're at a party, your whole career is ruined.
Yeah.
Here you could just deny something that kills thousands of people. Not one person will come back.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Those people should instantly be fired. Anyone who, like this Florida guy, South Dakota, or whatever it is, anyone who said, no, full open, this is nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's committing, as far as I'm
So
concerned,
we were at 1,000 deaths a day in the U.S. and people were completely fine with it. It's 30% higher now. We're at 1,300 to 1,400 deaths a day, and I think conservatives are still fine with it.
Yeah.
What's the number to get
50,000 dead a day.
Yeah, they're just gonna ride it out till Biden's in office and then probably start complaining about it.
Yeah, then blame
They're
them.
like, you're killing Americans.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, Pence said in June that there will be no second wave because Donald Trump is handling this so well.
Yeah.
And if you look at the arc,
We're in a
since he said
third
that,
wave. This is a third wave.
The amount of sound bites that we have of people just getting this so wrong. And the problem is, like, this is what I don't get. If any of us, we run small businesses, all things considered. If you're the CEO of a company, and you make a decision where people die, you're out.
You're going to jail.
no, they just ignore it. They just change the topic.
Republicans.
Just change
but
the
if you're a
topic.
Republican leader of a state that does that,
You probably get reelected.
yeah, just change the topic.
So-
That's what there's parts of me that just won't be MAGA. I could just say whatever I want, do whatever I want.
Yeah,
and
Nancy Pelosi has the voting machines.
Nancy Pelosi has voting machines.
You'd be good at it. You'd be good because you're a good salesman.
It's just all,
Should we just flip it one day?
Yeah, you
Flip
just
it?
flip it. Just go for it. Go hard.
We should do a what if episode.
Yeah, oh, buddy, that'd be
Yeah.
funny. Bizarro world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corona
Get
doesn't
on,
Get
exist.
the ratings.
Yeah.
Get the ratings.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Open
you
up
never
the
know.
arenas.
Someone
I'll tell
comes
you guys,
in.
so back in January, I had a meeting with somebody who works in China. I won't say who it is because I don't know if they would want me to. And this is in January, and they happen to be in Paris, and they said, I'll tell you something. This started in China. It'll end first in China. It'll come to the U.S. last. It'll end last in the U.S. And man, they had it so nailed. I mean, I hear that echoing in my head all the time. But you know what? Like one of the things of successful people is they have an accurate representation of reality in their head, right? Like what do billionaires have in common? And one of the things is that they have an accurate representation of reality. Now you pointed out some examples of things that I guess it only has to be on the things that matter, right? Only on the things that make them money. But I think that the people who know like this is a virus. And guess what? It behaves like a virus. So how could you say there won't be a second wave? Viruses behave like viruses. It's not rocket science. But I mean, I had it. So I lived in it. I've had colds that were worse, but I think I was just lucky. Like cousin Gary.
Yeah. I think it's that Ohio, Indiana. Yeah, something in those genes.
That white gene is good. Yeah. It's a good gene. It's a great gene.
It's a good gene. It's a strong gene.
Yeah. Ouch. A lot of fine genes.
You should sell white jeans.
Yeah.
You do a white jean sale.
I don't know about you, Drone, but I've always thought, like the tattoo addiction comes partly from not wanting to be so white.
Drama does look cooler with tats. I don't think he'd look better. He looks better with tattoos.
I agree. You and I are just like white dudes from the Midwest.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. I think you're trying to add some sort of flair to you because just like you, I did my 23andMe or whatever, and I'm like, for sure there is something in there, and it was like the smallest little area of Europe, and there was not even a drizzle of anything. That. I will when I go MAGA. Yeah. I'm like, show me your map. Just concentrated my lineages.
This is purebred.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, just to be clear, when I got off the plane at LAX from Ohio for my move here, my hair was in cornrows. So that'll show you how bad I didn't want to be white.
These pictures.
And you had Doggy Style playing in your headphones, right?
100%. Yes. And I had Air Force Ones and a tall tee from Foot Locker. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. It seems like you add on flu season, you add on the fact that, of course, all these places are going to start doing lockdowns, but there's a massive group of people that aren't going to abide by that.
Yeah.
I still see, the shit now on social media with what these like young, TikToker, I don't want to keep harping on them, but the influencer crowd, they're partying. House parties just became like the thing to do. And they're slammed every weekend. It doesn't even seem weird anymore. But there's people doing full DJ sets at states that will allow. To me, I feel like looking at it, it's like, okay, this is a virus. It spreads quicker than most viruses. And look at how people are acting. Of course, the numbers are going to be through the roof.
And you know what's going to be really interesting in California? I bet, so Gavin Newsom is public enemy number one in California.
Yeah.
Who's the governor of California. I bet you 6 months from now, he's going to look like a hero. Because I guarantee you, California, because of weather, because of people wearing masks, even Ian made a comment just before we started that he went hiking and people here get weirded out by just being next to anyone. Mm-hmm. And I think that is such a LA, California vibe right now. And it's going to help us in the winter when the rest of the states are going through a harder time. We also have the advantage of weather. It's 85 degrees today. Mm-hmm. It's 85 degrees tomorrow. It's in the 70s. We're going to continue to stay outside.
But here's the problem with Gavin Newsom. He was caught at an indoor birthday party.
Get the fuck out of
here.
He
was at French Laundry.
Yeah.
Just now?
Yeah, the article came out yesterday.
Yeah.
So
but it's
you can't do that, Gavin. Sorry.
Gav.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you that in 6 months, if our hospitalizations are still low, and then a vaccine and therapeutics come out, he's going to look...
We need some of that conservative forgetfulness.
Yeah, I think the weather's going to help us. That's the biggest thing. And people do wear masks in LA. Mm-hmm. I would say in areas I go, it's 90% mask coverage. You have your couple people that are just a little brazen. Mm-hmm. Indoors are still closed. Mm-hmm. So I think LA, for the most part, should be fine. We never got it that bad. Mm-hmm. Hospitals were never overrun. So let's see.
It's just like I feel like it is a shit show until the vaccine. Because you also have, it's just the thing you don't think about when you're planning how this is all going to go down is like the fact that people are just going to be sick of the lockdown shit no matter what the numbers say.
Yeah.
And they're going to be partying and they're going to be seeing each other and they're going to, there's that element of this. People aren't going to follow with the guidelines just because there's guidelines.
Yeah.
So that just makes me feel like this is like, a really big issue until vaccine. I don't.
Yeah, and then how long until a vaccine gets distributed? How many people will actually take it? You know, everyone on Parler ain't taking it.
No.
No.
Okay, if
There's
Parler will have
no-
100 million
if you go to
users by
Parler
December
/vaccine,
31st.
you'll find no results.
Yeah. When you try to search vaccine on Parler, it doesn't even populate.
Yeah.
I think the thing that would be helpful would be like, you know, the interesting thing, watching it happen in France and then watching what's happening in the US. And for me, I'm constantly paying attention to what the restrictions are because I live in Paris. My daughter lives in Los Angeles. So I'm always flying between here and there. I've done it, I don't know, 5 or 6 times since March. And so I'm like, I'm watching the way both are handling it. The one thing I would say, if I could, you know, just give people advice, is to ask that question, you know, what's your goal? You know, because it's a virus. So until a vaccine, we're not going to eradicate it. Even with a vaccine, to your point, we won't eradicate it, but we just want to keep it in the margins, right? So we want to make it so that the ICU rooms are not full. And so everybody has to do their part to like keep the spread low. But we're not going to get rid of it. We're not going to stop the spread. But I think that, I don't know, I feel like there's some missed opportunity around, you know, telling people like, hey, you know, what is the goal? You know, because otherwise it's easy to fall into the kind of fatalistic, like, oh, I can't, what can I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think France has done a pretty
Politicians
good
suck
job
at that.
that.
Politicians can't
That's what I was going
communicate
to say is that there are definitely lots of people I know in Paris who would disagree with me, but I think that the French government has done quite a good job of saying, like, we're going to try to keep the economy going. We're going to try to keep this city moving. But when the ICU beds get full, we're shutting things down again.
Yep.
And everybody's got to be okay with that, you know? And so even now, people are cheating all over the place, you know? Like I heard of some people last night that had like a very small little dance party in Paris. So it's going on in Paris, the same
200
the same
people.
Here.
Yeah. Just so small.
I think it was, you know, less than 20 people, but still,
Okay.
if you're in a room with 20 people and one person has it, everybody's going to get it. That's just science, right? At the same time, you know, there is the level comes down. You turn the volume down, the level comes down, the ICU beds don't fill up. You know, like I said, I know, you know, tons and tons and tons of people who have had it. I thankfully don't know anyone personally who's had it, you know, in the worst of ways. But I'm worried about holidays because I think that young people and old people getting together is the recipe for disaster.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, murderous row.
Yeah.
Murders. I'm telling you, there are so many people for Thanksgiving and, well, for all three, that are going to say, fuck it. I haven't seen my family. I don't even know if this thing's real.
I would go do something adventurous.
Just
and
so
roll it down
yeah.
there because
the people that I'm picturing aren't adventurous people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're the people that have just been sitting in their houses and it's like, nah, screw it, come over.
Yeah.
Parler said everyone on Parler is going to go
Everyone
see
on
their
Parler said it
family.
was fine. You saw how quickly Trump recovered.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
I know.
Donald Trump getting
I get
out
it,
of
though.
there so quickly
Yeah.
and doing his little photo op was terrible for the country because
He said it was a gift from God.
1,300 are dying a day.
Hopefully God takes care of
1,300
everybody.
a day.
That's insane.
Hopefully God gives us all that same Regeneron.
Yeah.
Okay. We ready to wrap it up?
Yep.
Okay. We have our final segment, Karen of the Week, where each week we sit down and we tell you who was acting like a real Karen this week. We all know what a Karen is at this point, right? Complaining, entitled, passing blame, you know, a Karen. The thing about our Karens is they can be any race, any ethnicity, it's none of that. Anyone can act like a Karen. So let's get into it. Anand, who is your Karen this week?
Little Pump.
That's a good Karen.
Big Trump supporter. Got out at the rally.
A lot of hats.
Told us all, Trump's going to save us.
Yep. Said he's leaving the country, actually, if Trump doesn't win.
Guess what? He wasn't even registered to vote.
Shocker.
Yeah, I'm going to go with shocker.
I'm not surprised if any rapper is registered to vote.
No, don't say that. Nas voted.
Any rapper?
Not any
There's some
rapper,
rappers.
but I
You
mean,
think J. Cole isn't registered to vote?
Okay, I'm saying the guys that Lil Wayne.
Thank you. The Lils.
Yeah.
The
And
Littles.
no Lil.
Lil
is
Uzi,
real Lil.
Lil Pump, Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he even realized that voting was like a thing you had to actually go do.
Yes.
And
He might have
didn't-
just thought like, no, I said it.
yeah.
He
That means
declared
gets
it,
votes.
right?
He
Gets a
really
vote.
was just looking for he was clout chasing.
Yeah.
He got at a rally.
I think they offered him money. I think he's he got a lot of fame in the beginning by being just outrageous. I think a lot of people fall into that trap. I think Kanye kind of fell into it. I think Lil Pump fell in. I think that you can flip the switch that says, ooh, this would be outrageous.
Yeah.
And what if I did this? I bet that would get me a lot of attention. And I feel like that's the one thing in the age of all press is good press that doesn't work for you if you're a rapper.
Little Pimp, sit down.
Sorry, Lil Pimp.
Yeah. That is.
D.
Mine is everyone who attended the Million MAGA March in Washington, D.C., which local authorities are saying was 10,000 people. Not a million. Million maggots didn't come out.
That's interesting. You just call them maggots?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
they were about 990 short.
And what happened in that, that moment is Donald Trump drove by the rally.
Nice.
Gave him a thumbs up.
Okay.
These people came to DC to march for you. You should probably engage with them and speak to them.
He probably hates them at this
He
point.
went to golf.
Oh, just on his way by.
He doesn't even care to engage the people that are like out in the streets protesting for him. Instead, he'd rather go golf. This is the blatant disregard Donald Trump has for his own followers that I will never ever understand. If this guy was a guy in the streets with you, protesting and carrying the torch, he'd rather go golf. And then when I see the videos of those people over the weekend, people are posting, this is Joe Biden's America. And because they're getting harassed by people, I'm like, actually, it's Trump's America. Trump is still president of the United States. He's not supporting these people. These people are pretty much putting themselves, their lives at stake. They're not just I'm not talking about their physical life, just their livelihood by going there acting like maniacs. You had the Proud Boys out there, which I saw a video of how they jump people in. And it's some pussy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to see it.
Yes, I'll send you the video of how the initiation is.
Oh my
It is
God.
It's the biggest joke.
It's literally 20 little bear taps in your chest, and you're like, say that you are okay with male chauvinistic ways. And I was like, if you saw in my junior high how you got jumped into a gang, if you didn't walk out with a stretcher, it was unbelievable. That I remember kids would just be like, "Oh, I made this." Your face is deformed, but congratulations. But the whole weekend upset me because the guy doesn't even care. This is all a marketing tactic that he's going to take with him to the next phase of life. And these people are unnecessarily ruining their own lives. They wasted their weekend. Maybe got into pepper sprayed by police or whatever because they think this guy got cheated. He knows he didn't get cheated. He's just doing it for attention.
That's why I'm not mad at the Trump voters for being down and out and desperately needing help. I'm just mad at them for thinking that Trump was the guy that actually cared.
I agree with that.
Okay. Ian, who's your Karen of the week?
And I don't have one. I have to say, I have been quarantining by myself with 2 dogs in the Hollywood Hills, and I have no one to complain about. I have a pretty good week.
That's a good life. That's a good life. My Karen is, I always mess up her name, Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary. So keep in mind, the White House press secretary, the voice of the White House, was asked on a news station over the weekend. I think it was their thoughts on the transition or something like that. And she said, I don't know. That would be a question for the White House. And just sort of dumbfounded everyone. So that's what she said.
She just speaks for herself.
She said, I don't know. That'd be a question. And so everyone's like, did she get fired? And she's not telling anyone. Is maybe Trump, maybe Trump is so pissed that no one's even getting communication. And she's like, I don't know, ask them.
Yeah.
But you are literally, you are the question for the White House person. And you said, I don't know, that would be a question for the White House. So when it comes to,
good.
Yeah. So
I love that.
The lack of accountability that makes a Karen, I think goes to
It's like the
Kayleigh.
kind of thing that would happen at an AT&T store, except it's the White House.
Yes, 100%. And I would even say a Sprint store.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just to even be more exact.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's it. So, of course, make sure everyone you go check out Keeping Up with the Karens.
Yep.
That is the page that we collabed with on this little segment. We're also giving away a No Karens Allowed mat. That's on their Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so head on over to their Instagram, give them a follow, be on the lookout for that. But each week it's a good way for us to highlight our Karens. Do we want to let Ian go before we do shout outs?
I don't know. We could still hang out.
I'll hang. I'm here. Go.
All right, cool.
Perfect. Okay, Ian's here. We got shout outs.
He's isolated, man.
Did you have like a Corona scare, or you're just in an isolated sort of?
I've come to LA to visit my 14-year-old, and I've come from a lockdown France, and so I'm quarantining for 5 days. I had a PCR test before I came. I had another one. So I had a PCR test because I had a PCR test. I was positive. I quarantined for a couple weeks, and then I had a meeting with Ben Arano, and I was like, I'm going to get a clean test before I go have this meeting. Mm-hmm. I don't want to, he's not a young man, so I didn't want to take any germs into the building. Yep. So I had a PCR test. I'm clean. Okay, so then I have a PCR test before I fly to LA. I'm clean. Also had an antibody test, by the way, and I have the antibodies, so I'm superhuman in that way.
Yes.
Okay.
And then now I'm here. I'm sitting here by myself in a friend's house, and it's totally nice and comfortable. I'm babysitting my daughter and ex-wife's dogs while they're, they've taken a small road trip to Santa Cruz, and so I had a test this morning, which at a place I should get the results tonight. And then, assuming I'm clean, I'm with my daughter through Thanksgiving starting tomorrow.
That's great.
So that's
very well. I mean, great
you
job.
You can easily edit out.
Precaution.
But I'm 5 days of reading and meditating and typing a lot on my computer.
No, that's a good example of how a professional that has to travel,
it's a responsible way to do it.
You're responsible.
I'm doing my best. I have
that for a weed smoking Indiana skateboarder, man. You've come a long way.
I've seen no one except the sales clerk at Whole Foods and those people I walk past on the hike at Kenter Canyon. Although I did pick up a Goldie Bowl and a bulletproof coffee from Sun Life today.
Okay,
nice. That counts as quarantining.
No, you're living.
Those people are healthy over there.
Yeah.
What's our shout out?
Shout out is a 30th birthday, Tom Slaughter, who I actually have met, and he's from the UK. He been with us from day one, and he's actually a longtime Fantasy Factory Robin Big guy as well.
What up, Tom?
Yeah. He turned 30th on November 14th, and his partner wanted to give a shout out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tom Slaughter. Is his real name Tom Slaughter?
I mean, I think
it's pretty sick. If so, it's like a WWF wrestler. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, well, shout out to Tom.
Was he in Exodus in the early '80s?
Yeah,
happy birthday, Tom.
Sick.
Yeah,
happy birthday, Tom.
Charlotte is the one that DM'd. It was very thorough by reminding me because I didn't see the first time. So
got it.
Thank you.
You pulled a Pete.
I just didn't see it. I actually literally didn't see it. I usually see it.
Okay.
Unlike you.
Pulled a regular old Pete.
Yep.
Is that it? Is that all we got?
Nope, I have one.
Oh.
Okay.
So shout out to a fellow Run Club member, Jack Doheny.
Oh, yes, of course, Jack.
First of all, happy birthday. His birthday was yesterday, turned 26. And what did he decide to do? He decided to run a full marathon, a 26.2 mile marathon. You're insane.
Yes.
But happy birthday.
26, if you love running.
Yeah.
love
What a way
that.
to do it.
Yeah.
Good work, Jack. He's out in Denver, right?
Denver, but I think he came back to LA or San Diego. To run it.
If you had to. Not you're going to die serious, but you have to.
Yeah.
How many years do you think you could match the mile on your birthday, Till?
I mean, in one day?
No. Every year on your birthday, you have to run the
27,
age.
28,
I mean, I am 40.
29.
There's no fucking way I can do that.
No, I'm saying when would you have peaked out?
26.
Yeah.
You don't think you could run 27 miles on your 27th birthday?
I have friends who have done more than 100 in their 40s. So
On a day?
it's
You
definitely
could have done
possible.
40 at 40.
The race.
26
I mean, run, I can walk 40 miles. Sure.
No,
Yeah.
you got to run. Did 26 feel like max?
I blacked out.
Yeah.
and a
Did he
paramedic found me.
collapse? Yeah. I don't think if he goes beyond, he might actually croak over and
Okay.
die.
He's like, yeah, you'll be fine. Just drink some water, eat a banana.
That'd be a good challenge.
Yeah.
Every year you run your birthday.
Maybe I'll plan for my 50th. I'll do 50 miles.
Wow.
Good luck. Good luck, man.
I have 10 years to train.
That's a good idea. I remember Dr. Dre told me once, he said, will I get the number right? He was like, yeah, when I turn 50, I'm going to be 5% body fat. And my response to him, I said, I'm sure you'll find somebody who tells you are. He said, man, fuck you.
That's good. That's really good.
He was amazing shape, that dude.
Yeah, he's ripped.
Yeah, man, that's true.
But 50 at 50, that's a good goal. That's a good goal, D. I'm trying to just stick with like, one marathon a year just to prove I can still do it. And,
you signed up for the
ratcheting up. I'm not ratcheting up the mileage. Then too old
and
for that
marathon.
He does the Grand Running Club challenges and races. So we're gonna hopefully get a run in while he's out here.
Nice. Is that it for shoutouts?
Yeah, that's it.
That's all I got.
Okay, well, that's it, man. I mean, that was a long episode, but we did it. It was well worth it.
Yeah.
Lots of news as well as wisdom. Ian, thank you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. The weirdest part for me is like you guys talking normal speed. I usually listen to you at a 1.5. So
that's funny. So it sounds slow-mo.
You're one of those, the 1.5. Yeah. I can't do that. If I listen to anything, I just can't.
Yeah.
I at least 1.2, 1.5.
I think you'd get used to it, but to me, it like...
Two's too much.
Doesn't feel human.
Two's too much. Two's too much.
I like the, I don't know, maybe because if I listen to a podcast, it means I'm running. I don't mind the slow. That's the only time I'll ever listen to anything is really while I'm running. So...
Got it. Okay. That's it. Ian, thank you, man. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into the bubble.
Of course, no thanks. And really feel free to edit me out liberally. You won't hurt my feelings. You can edit out
No,
we don't actually know how to edit. We barely know how to record this thing.
Yeah, that's it.
People are gonna love it. You gave a good different angle on a lot of things, and people are gonna eat it up.
Cool.
No need to edit.
And anytime. I love it.
Right.
Thanks.
That's it. We'll see everyone later.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.